sponsor of the WTIM Nicole Patrick Country Financial Player of the Game. During Tornado Sports broadcasts this school year, WTIM announcers will select a player at the end of each game who will receive a certificate for being named our Player of the Game. Good luck to all the teams this season, and go Tornadoes!
WTIM. And this is the WTIM Morning Show on your information station. The show is sponsored by People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, and Landmark of Taylorville. I'm Reed Kamai. We have another candidate on this morning. He is a candidate for Christian County Sheriff, and I'm talking about the current Assistant Chief of the Stonington Police Department, Phil Deal. Assistant Chief Deal, thanks for coming on.
You bet. Anytime. Thanks for asking.
Yes, yeah, it is. It's good to have you on, and an opportunity to learn a little more about you. And I guess we'll start with the first question. Why are you running for sheriff, and why do you think you're qualified for the role?
I've been in law enforcement 24 years. The reason I'm running, there's a lot of things that I see that I would like to change as sheriff. I'm a people person. I'm compassionate and caring for people, and I want to help people out and just do better for the county.
Yeah, and you're in Stonington right now, obviously a very a small area in terms of population and size. How has that kind of helped shape that identity that you mentioned?
Sure. I started as my career in Kincaid and learned, before I went to the county, I was at the county 17 years, and then I went to Stonington. And Stonington is a great town. I grew up in Morrisville. Was born and raised in Morrisville my whole life. And Stonington's a lot like Morrisville. There's great people up there. It's a tight-knit community. Everybody helps each other. And, that's what we're all about. That's what law enforcement is.
What would you say is the biggest challenge that's currently facing the sheriff's office? You talked about, some things you would change. What do you see as kind of the biggest one out there?
Well, I think the biggest problem with the sheriff's office now would be morale. The deputies, they got to worry about the administration as well as the public, for support. I would support the deputies 100%, the dispatchers, jailers, just support of the deputies is what I'm after.
What does that sort of support look like?
Just if they have a problem, if they're short out on the road, if they get backed up with calls, I'm not beyond getting in my car and going out and helping out, answering calls. The chief deputy that I would appoint would be the same way. He would be out there answering calls and taking care of business just with the deputies right alongside of him.
I'm talking about kind of how you balance, law enforcement with community trust and transparency. How do you get there with that?
Well, I think the main balance there would be just to be seen. Be in your squad as a sheriff, be out in the public talking to people. Your chief deputy, be out in the public talking to people. Helping out on the road, answering questions if there's a problem and the public needs to get a hold of somebody. And I've put my cell phone number on any post that I've ever had on Facebook, and I'll be a active, visible sheriff.
And I know you've been active on Facebook during the campaign. Let's talk a little about mental health. That's been a big talking point in the county. What role do you believe the sheriff's office should play in mental health and crisis responses?
Well, mental health is getting more and more prevalent throughout, the years as we go by. It's a disease it's very uncertain. As a deputy, my biggest concern going to a call was, a person has stated, called into a crisis hotline, is going to harm himself, and that's my biggest concern going to a mental health awareness call with somebody there's firearms in the house. I mean, it's concerning that you're pulling into that, and sometimes you're pulling into that by yourself. And, there's got to be more training in mental health. There's a family in Stonington that's got 3 profound autistic boys. And I never really realized how important training and autism go hand in hand. My biggest fear would be as a law enforcement officer getting into somebody, coming across them in the public and, not being able to recognize autism and end up getting into an argument or a scuffle with somebody, and better training could have solved that whole problem. And that's my biggest focus on mental health, is just training, working with the health department if there's any classes. And I've worked with LETAC and the Law Enforcement Training Center in Springfield, try to get classes on autism, and there's classes coming out trying to help law enforcement in that area.
So you mentioned it's in Springfield. Is that something that you'd be able to get your officers in, of course, a different county involved in? Sure.
That's the LETAC that I mentioned in Springfield. It's MTU 10, and there's several counties that's involved in that. And being a member of LETAC, we can train up there all the time, and that's value training that we need.
So that's a little bit there on mental health. In terms of where resources at the Christian County Sheriff's Office are at currently, I know you've had some experience there before. Any changes you would make to how those resources are allocated?
I would push for more grant funding. There's a COPS grant that the Sheriff's Office hasn't pursued, which would hire a deputy, and they would pay the salary for 3 years. I would push for, I know they're using an app now for scheduling purposes. We didn't need to spend that money years ago. We did it, through one of the deputies took a charge and did the scheduling and saved the county that much money.
Scheduling of what?
Of shifts for deputies.
Okay.
If there's overtime, or if there's a higher back shift, and have one of the deputies in charge of scheduling, and save the money that they put towards the scheduling app to better serve the deputies, get them equipment that they need.
So that's a little bit there on resources. Now, if you were to be the sheriff, you'd certainly have to work with other county leaders, other sheriff's offices, other law enforcement agencies. How would you work with those parties?
The main focus of that would be unite the police departments in the county, work hand in hand with them. Work Edinburgh, Morrisonville, Stonington, Taylorville, Pana, working with them guys, having meetings with them guys, once a month, maybe twice a month. Hey, what's your concerns? What do you need from us? What kind of resources can we better help you with? Training. I was lucky enough to organize a active high risk traffic stop training up in Stonington, Morrisonville, Assumption. We came. I even had an officer from Pawnee come, and it was very productive training.
You'd mentioned the trainings. You'd mentioned being there for your deputies. I mean, it seems like decent time commitment. You think you could handle all of that?
100%. You got to make time for your employees. If you take care of your employees will take care of you. That's just the way it is.
All right. So you were talking there about kind of working with some other agencies. Let's see. What would you say your stance is on like transparency with the public and the media? Including like this radio station.
My phone number will be posted, and it is posted, and you can call me 24/7. I'm an open book, and so will my chief deputy. When we both, take office, you'll be able to get a hold of us at 1:00 in the morning or 1:00 in the afternoon. It won't make any difference. We will be completely transparent and answer any questions that you have.
On top of like a lot of the other things you said with like the trainings and covering for deputies as well.
Sure. Yep. 100%.
All right. So that's a little bit there on transparency. I'll tell you what, we're about halfway through the interview. Why don't we take a little bit of a break? I'm talking with Assistant Chief of the Stonington Police Department, Phil Deal. He is a candidate for Christian County Sheriff, and we'll continue that conversation on the other side of this break right here on the WTIM Morning Show on your information station.
Your information station, WTIM.
Let's check the markets now on the RFD Radio Network. I'm Jim Taylor. Corn, beans, and Chicago wheat higher at this hour. May corn up 4.64.5. July corn up 5 1/4, 4.76 1/4. New crop December 4.91, up 6 1/2. May beans up 13 1/2, 12.14 1/4. July beans up 14, 12.27, and new crop November 11.58, up 11 1/4. May Chicago wheat 621.25, up 4.5. July KC wheat up 9.5, 645. May bean meal 317.40, up 20 cents. May bean oil 67.56, up 98 cents. Livestock trade March feeders 346.90, down 8.72. April live cattle down 550, 229.07. April lean hogs 94.47, down to $1.15. Energy market April crude oil up $9.80, $100.70. RFD Radio.
Tornado baseball and softball, plus playoff games are on New Country 104.1 this spring. Tune in or listen to the live audio stream of select baseball and softball games, plus playoffs of both teams. Brought to you by
the Taylorville Community Credit Union, the Christian County YMCA, Rural Rentals, and Scooters Coffee.
The purple and gold are coming your way. The Taylorville Tornadoes are going to do it today.
Hello, this is Phil Deal, Republican candidate for Christian County Sheriff. As a lifelong resident of this county, I have worn many hats: police officer, business owner, husband, father, pawpaw, and friend. I have lived and worked my entire life here. I've raised a family here and will work tirelessly to ensure that this county remains a safe place for all to live. With a heart of service and commitment to family values, I would be honored to earn your vote for Christian County Sheriff on March 17th, paid for by friends of Phil Deal for Christian County Sheriff.
An exciting new addition is coming to Springfield Clinic Taylorville. Here's Dr. Pavi Gill with Springfield Clinic Taylorville.
Springfield Clinic Taylorville is excited to welcome nurse practitioner Billy Toland to our walk-in clinic, so you can get the care you need when you need it.
Walk in without an appointment at Springfield Clinic Taylorville, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. till 8 p.m.
WTIM AM, FM, and online on the WTIM mobile app and Amazon Alexa is your ag information station. With over 8 hours a day of agriculture programming and our own local farm broadcaster, tune into WTIM, your ag information station.
This winter, your to-do list should include hot cocoa, and that's about it. At Hickory Point Garden Homes, snow removal and winter upkeep are already handled, so you can enjoy an easier winter. Schedule a tour today by clicking their icon at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
Your information station, WTIM.
And we're back on the WTIM Morning Show on your information station. The show is sponsored by People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, and Landmark of Taylorville. I'm Reed Kamai. We're 8 days away from the spring primary elections. And one of the decisions on your ballot, if you live in Christian County, of course, is for Christian County Sheriff. And one of the candidates right now, Phil Deal, currently the Assistant Chief of the Stonington Police Department, joins me in studio. And we spent the first segment talking about some of his some of the big campaign issues. That's what I'm referring to, and I'd love to keep that conversation going. So we talked a little bit about some of your plans in terms of money. Obviously, that's a big factor. How would you sort of manage the department's budget while also kind of balancing the need for public safety?
Well, I would manage the budget, obviously with help from people that's done it before, and I would not spend money unwisely. I think the sheriff's offices, they've got a Market Street building. I don't believe the money needed to be spent on the Market Street building. I believe it needed to be spent on equipment and safety for the deputies and the public. And that's, and obviously working with the county board, I would look forward to having that opportunity to work with the budget and keep the public safe.
Yeah. So you were talking there a little bit about that in terms of like any big expenditures you might expect, like, in the near future. What kind of stands out there that you'll have to tackle?
Well, I would say, make sure the jail's up to par. I know they got the fire suppression system in there. But getting the federal inmates back would be, I believe I figured it up, and it was somewhere around almost $830,000 that the county's lost out by not having the feds in the jail. And I would make sure that the jail's up to par. Work with the jail administrator, Cecil Pulley over there, and and try to get that jail up to standards where we could house federal inmates and bring that money back into the county.
You've mentioned before some of the work that had happened at the jail, or that you were hoping to have. For those who weren't at the candidates forum last week, what are some of those more immediate goals for work at the jail?
I know there's safety concerns on the flooring. I know there's windows that was taken out of the budget, for the Market Street building. I know there was an outdoor recreation area that was in the original plans that was taken out due to the money went to Market Street building. I believe there's some of the doors in the jail that's not the electric doors. It's not locking right. All that's a safety concern for the staff. And like I said, with the deputies being out of that building, it's a matter of time before one of the staff members get injured. I know staff assaults are up in the jail, and I think that's a direct result of the deputies not being in the jail.
All right, so those are some of your plans with the jail. I want to ask about something specific to something you've campaigned for: risk assessment walkthroughs. You had mentioned on one of your social media pages that you were calling for that for community centers. What would that look like in terms of the logistics, the costs, that sort of thing?
Well, the cost, there would be no cost. We'd go through the buildings. I'm no different than any other law enforcement officer. When he goes into a restaurant to sit down and eat supper, he sits with his back to the door. He or his face in the door. He knows where the exits are. He knows where the entrances are. He knows where everything's located in that building to find out which way somebody could come in that building and hurt somebody. And I would like to do that with the major public buildings, the Dollar Generals, Edinburgh's new Sloan's. They've got Midwest Meter up there now. Has built a new building on the south side of Edinburgh. All these buildings that's in the county, the jail, the schools. That's a main option. When I was with the county for 17 years, not one time did we walk through any of the schools and see, where the principal's office was, where the gym was. Not one time did we do that. And I think that's a failure on the training part. And I think we need to know as first responders, what part of that building we need to go to if we're called there. Just making sure what your entrances, your exits, everything is in that building to keep the public safe.
So yeah, those are your plans for the walkthroughs, and you mentioned that this wouldn't be at any cost. So would this be just working with the personnel you have to carry this out? Or?
Sure,
Okay.
Sure. You'd obviously, with your schools and your businesses, you'd want to try to walk through with your day shift deputies. Make sure you're there with them. Make sure you're out on the road with them. Walk through the building. If John Deere would let us come up and walk through their building, we could do it on with the deputies on duty. We'd have plenty of resources there. The chief deputy would be on the road in his car. I would be on the road in my car as a sheriff, patrolling, make sure that we got the county covered, and just find out what these buildings look like on the inside to help out.
All right, so that's a little bit on walkthroughs there. Talking a little more broadly now, how would you measure success for the sheriff's office if you were in charge?
I would let the public measure my success. I would let them tell me what I'm doing wrong, learn from them. I would measure my amount of equipment with my deputies. I would have, there's a lot of deputies now that's being mandatory. Sometimes it's an 18-hour shift. The battery on the radio only lasts 8 to 10 hours. Get them deputies an in-car charger for their radios where they can have public safety, for themselves if they have to go into a bad situation. Just be seen, be out in public and be seen. That's how you'd measure success.
All right. And then we're into the final minute, and I'll let you have your final pitch to voters on why they should choose you for sheriff.
I believe I'm the best candidate for sheriff. I mean, I've got the endorsement of Taylorville's FOP Lodge 187. I've got the endorsement of the Christian County Sheriff's Office Lodge. Let's see, 237. I thought that's the number. And that's with the jailers, the telecommunicators, the deputies. I've got the most law enforcement support in this that should tell you who the best candidate for the sheriff is.
Phil Deal, the Assistant Chief of the Stonington Police Department, also a candidate for the Christian County Sheriff in that primary election that will take place next week, Tuesday, March 17th, also known as St. Patrick's Day. Assistant Chief Deal, thank you again for coming on.
Thank you, Reed, very much. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yes, and it was good to talk to you here on the WTIM Morning Show. Have a good day.
The Big 870 WTIM Assumption Taylorville.
96.1 FM Taylorville.
107.